Hello, I'm Ethan Collins. I'm 29 and I work for a logistics company out in Ohio, not tech, not finance, no anything flashy, just a regular company that moves stuff from point A to point B. Warehouses, supply chains, driver shuttles, that kind of thing. Some people find it boring. I actually enjoy it. I live in a house just outside town. It used to be my parents' place, but they're tired and moved down to Florida about 2 years ago. Since then, it's been mine. At first, it felt a little too big too quick, but that changed almost a year ago. My older sister, Heather, moved in with me. She's 34. She'd just gone through a really rough divorce. Her husband left her and their 2 kids, Mason, who's 8, and Lily, who just turned 5. It happened fast. One day, she called me, crying. The next day, she was packing, and 2 days later, they were all sleeping in my guest rooms. Honestly, I was glad. Not about what happened to her, obviously, but I was glad they came here. The house felt less like a museum and more like life. There were toys in the hallway again, cereal on the floor, cartoons playing at 7 a.m. I grew up in a big family. One missed that, plus, Heather's my sister. She's always been there for me. Letting her stay here was a no-brainer. At work, things have been smooth. I like my job. I like the team. Most of the guys there solid, dependable. Nobody's trying to climb over you for a promotion. It's a calm place to be. And about 6 weeks ago, we get someone new in the customer accounts, Lauren Bennett. Tall brunette, mid-30s. Maybe she had that kind of sharp but funny energy. Like she knew exactly how to call out BS, but she'd smile while doing it. First few days, he just nodded and said hi, like with anyone new. But she didn't blend into the. She'd find a reason to chappy the printer or grab coffee when I did. She laughed at my dumb jokes in meetings. Called me Mr. Reliable once when I helped her fix a system error. I'm not dense. I could tell she was interested. And I didn't mind it, but also wasn't pushing. I've been burned once before. And I wasn't about to read too much into office banter. Still, there was something about her. She wasn't overly flirty. She'd ask about what I do on weekends, if I cook or order takeout, if we go out much. I kept it pretty casual. Told her I liked my space and home's always busy anyway. I think that intrigued her more. A week or two and she invited me for a quick coffee. During lunch, we walked across the street to that tiny spot next to the gas station. It wasn't a date, not officially, but it wasn't nothing either. We talked about TV shows, bad customer emails, and somehow we landed on neighborhoods. She asked where I lived. I said just past Maple Street. She raised her eyebrows, said, "Oh, I'm not far over on Carver." I nodded, didn't say more. I didn't think anything of it at the time, but at home, things were as usual. Heather had a part-time job at a small bakery downtown, and I'd pick up the kid from daycare if she had late shifts. We worked out a rhythm. Most nights, I'd come home, heat up leftovers, help Mason with homework, and by 9 p.m., the house would start to quiet down. Lily always wanted one more story. Mason always wanted to show me something on his tablet. And Heather, she out up late, folding laundry or watching true crime on mute. It wasn't glamorous, but it was solid. It felt like something that made sense. I didn't know it then, but this was that come before things got confusing. The next couple of weeks moved like clockwork. Work, home, repeat. I kept tummy rhythm, and honestly, I liked it that way. Wake up early, leave before the kids are fully awake. Coffee and Thetrack, a quiet drive into town, checking at the warehouse. Go through my list, the kind of life where you know what teach hour looks like before it happens. But Lauren kept showing up in the in-between spaces. Not in a weird way, it was more like she kept finding excuses to be near me. If he showed up at the kitchen to grab a cup of coffee, she was already there. If he went to the printer, she had just accidentally sent something to the wrong machine. Once I was carrying a box off into returns and she just fell in step beside me like we'd been doing it for years. She had this mix of confidence and ease, like she didn't need attention but knew how to get it if she wanted, and maybe she didn't act this way with anyone else, but I didn't go around checking. I was busy enough with my own stuff. We started eating lunch together unofficially, sometimes in the break room, other times at that same tiny coffee shop. It wasn't every day, just enough to make it something. One times asked what I was doing that evening. I said, probably helping my nephew with math and trying to convince my niece to eat vegetables. She laughed, then paused. Wait, you have a kid? I shook my head. No, my sister's. She lives with me. There was a brief look, just a flash of curiosity, but she hadn't pressed. Still, I noticed Chester asking more, like she was trying to fill in the picture. She asked if I cooked often. I told her yes, nothing fancy, just quick stuff that feeds for. She asked if I watch a lot of sports. I said, I don't really have the time. She asked if I live far from work. I said 10 minutes, no traffic. One day after work, she asked if I ever go out in the area. Bars, live music, anything like that. I said, not really. My evenings are usually booked with cartoons and cleaning up Lego. She tilted her head and said, you're hard to read. You know that. I just smiled. That's probably a good thing. That same night, I came home to Lily having a meltdown over Lossinger. Pink marker. Mason shouting about a spider in the bathroom, and Heather standing in the kitchen looking like she aged 5 years. In one afternoon, I gave her a hug without asking. Just one after those days. We ate spaghetti, watch head part of a movie. And after, the kids are finally in bed. I help Heather fold a basket of laundry. She looked at me and said, "You okay?" I nodded. "Yeah, well, you've got that weird calm look on your face, the one you had when you were in high school and had a crush." But Will didn't say anything. I laughed. "It's nothing like that." She didn't believe him obviously. A couple of days later, something changed. Lauren came in to work with her hair pulled back. No makeup, oversized hoodie, different than usual. Still beautiful, but more casual. She walked straight to my desk and dropped a paper cup in front of me. Flat white, 2 sugars. "You seem like a 2-sugar guy." I looked at the cup, then at her. That obvious, she leaned in a little inly to people who pay attention. Then she walked away. Later that day, we had to go over a client error together, an order that got scanned twice. We spent about 40 minutes working side by side trying to track the issue. At some point, she looked over and said, "Youch no, you never told me what street you're on. You said past Maple, but thought's vague." I replied without thinking. "Briar Lane, near the Shell station." She nodded slowly like Shegist filed that away. That night, I came home, and the house was louder than usual. Mason had brought a friend over after school. Lily had glitter glue, a louver at the table. Heather was on the phone with our mom, pacing the hallway, and mouthing helped me when I walked in. I jumped right in, cleaned up, made quesadillas, ran baths, did dishes. I was in sweatpants and an old hoodie by 8:30. By 9:00 p.m., I had finally sat down in the living room with a glass of water, just enjoying 5 minutes of nothing. And then there was a knock on the front door. Not loud, just 2 knocks. Quick and light. I wasn't expecting anyone, not at that hour. I got up, peeked through the glass. It was Lauren. I blinked, not quite sure if I was seeing things. But no, she was standing there, hands in her coat pockets, hair down, slight frown on her face, like she wasn't even sure why she was there. I opened the door. "Hey," I said. Shell looked at me for a second, then gave a small smile. "Hey, I was nearby. Thought he'd drop by." Before I could respond, Lily came running into the hallway behind me, chasing Mason, who had a flashlight and was pretending to be a guy. Heather walked in from the kitchen, holding a cup of tea. Lauren's eyes scanned the scene behind me and she looked back at me. "I thought you lived alone." The air changed just like that. She shook her head quickly, looked down at her feet. "I shouldn't have come. I'm sorry." "Wait, Lauren," but she was already backing away. "It's fine. Don't worry about it." She turned and walked down the steps to her car. I stood there holding the door open, unsure whether to chase her or close it. I just stood there. The next morning felt heavier than usual. Not because anything specific had gone wrong, just the kind of morning where knows something's changed but don't quite know what to do with it. I got to work a little early, parked in my usual spot, grabbed a coffee from the machine in the hallway, and walked to my desk like I always do. But I already knew I sat down. Lauren wasn't going to do the same. She walked in 5 minutes, nodded politely, gave a quick morning to everyone in her path, and sat at her workstation without looking over. No coffee in hand, no accidental bump into me near the printer, no small talk. It was like the past few weeks had been a rest overnight. I opened my inbox and tried to focus on a shipment delay issue for one of our Memphis clients, but my brain wasn't cooperating. I kept replaying the moment she stood at the way her eyes shifted when she saw Lily and Mason, the way her posture changed when she saw Heather. She thought they were my family. Of course she did, and I couldn't even blame her. It wasn't her fault. She didn't know. She'd only heard I lived past Maple and Mabe once or twice. I'd mentioned thickets, but I never really explained this beds. That's on me. Around 11 o'clock, I saw her at the copier. I told myself not to go over, told myself to give her space. I went anyway. "Hey," I said, keeping my voice light. "You okay?" She didn't look up. "Yeah, just busy." I nodded slowly about. "Last night, you don't